A no-fly zone over Ukraine is a really bad idea. Here's why. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has repeatedly called on NATO to enforce a no-fly zone over his country, sparking debate around its consequences in which most military and political leaders have come out against the idea. Speaking to Al Jazeera, Associate Professor of Political Science Peter Harris explained a no-fly zone in Ukraine would mean prohibiting Russian military planes from flying over it, and retired U.S. military personnel writing for the War on the Rocks site detailed that this involves maintaining not only control of the air, but also the elimination of threats from the ground. The first issue with such air supremacy, according to War on the Rocks, is that it is extremely difficult to attain. And the second is that it may not help Ukrainian aircraft, as currently they are not under major threat from Russian ground defenses, which are only available to the Russians in Russian-controlled areas. Additionally, the concept represents a major escalation for little, even theoretical gain, as current air parity in Ukraine has not significantly halted Russia's advance through the country. Enforcement would require flights into Ukraine airspace, putting NATO forces directly in contested airspace, while surface-based air defenses in bordering countries would not allow for domination of airspace Russian aircraft were flying in, but would invite the escalatory response of Russia attacking NATO aircraft from outside Ukraine. Even in terms of direct civilian casualties, a no-fly zone may have limited effect as, according to War on the Rocks, the majority of Ukrainian civilian casualties do not appear to have been caused by air power, but rather by artillery. Russian precision strikes seem to be inflicted by ballistic and cruise missiles, which once fired, it says, cannot be interdicted by aircraft in a no-fly zone. The end result, then, would appear in theory to be that NATO would enter a direct conflict with Russia with what would at this stage be little to gain, either in military or humanitarian terms. Furthermore, in such a scenario, if there was a hot conflict between Russia and a NATO member, then ultimately nuclear weapons are on the table, Peter Harris explained to Al Jazeera. Whether people like it or not, that's always a possibility, and leaders cannot credibly promise that they will not escalate to the use of nuclear weapons because events can take on a life of their own and escape the control of those in charge, he added. Russian President Vladimir Putin has already alluded to this danger, saying he had put his nuclear forces on high alert 2 weeks ago. In line with such seemingly conclusive reasons not to back any no-fly zone proposal, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken gave a pretty conclusive take on the idea last week, saying U.S. officials are trying to end this war in Ukraine, not start a larger one, according to The Hill. However, clearly, ruling out one potentially disastrous course of action does little to make Ukraine a safer place right now, and the context for any debate is that Russian forces are known to be regrouping after early setbacks. The Guardian, citing the Institute for the Study of War, reported on Wednesday that the Russians are concentrating in the eastern, northwestern, and western outskirts of Kyiv as they prepare an assault on the capital in the coming days. Satellite images of the long Russian convoy heading toward Kyiv from the northwest show it has not advanced beyond the airport in Hostomel, 30 kilometers outside Kyiv, but Russian forces elsewhere have been consolidating, notably in the Irpin area in the west and the Brovary area in the east, in what is characterized as an attempt to resupply, reorganize, and plan. It's now widely reported that Russia was not initially prepared for a larger strategic ground offensive in Ukraine, and this lack of preparation saw the infamous large convoy stalled en route to Kyiv, with vehicles running out of fuel and breaking down. This in turn caused a traffic jam in the northwest, arguably the most direct route to Kyiv, and this has been extremely hard to undo. Now, however, progress does appear to be being made through the country, with Russia both more cautiously building its invasion by keeping its troops under the protection of its air defenses, and making progress outside of the still stalled convoy in the northwest. Furthermore, limited air power available to the Ukrainians means that the convoy has not been destroyed, and by extrapolation, will eventually be able to join an attempt at a complete encirclement of the capital. In this context, The New Yorker said last week that 15,000 Kyiv citizens were taking shelter in the city's metro system every night. The Times of London reports that the Ukrainian army is using a nimble stealth drone that has dropped many bombs on Russian forces. Developed in Ukraine, the Punisher drone has a wingspan of 2.3 meters and is designed to attack enemy fuel storage, ammo trucks, and electronic warfare stations up to 50 kilometers behind enemy lines. The drone's designers say its most powerful feature is that it's very light and small, making it almost impossible to see with the naked eye or with radar, which is why they are very hard to hit. The drones use an electrical engine, which also makes them very quiet, so they are very effective at sneaking over enemy lines and hunting high-value targets. The drone is launched from a special catapult by a 3-man team that can easily pack the system into a SUV and blend into the countryside. The operators control the drone remotely via a laptop. The drone uses a powerful camera to search for targets. Once the operator clicks on a target, the drone flies to it and releases the bomb automatically.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.